There's so many ways to make money as a producer nowadays online, whether you want to make music your full-time job or you just want to make it a side hustle. So in today's video, I'm going to go over what I think are the top 5 best ways to get started in 2024. We've always mainly focused on selling beats and email marketing with our content on this channel, but once we started creating content on other topics like sync licensing and more, we started to notice other producers getting more knowledgeable and finding different and better paths to make it. So I'm going to explain how each one works, list some pros and cons for each method, and even give some industry insights and the sauce we've learned from different creators we work with through the Heat agency. So make sure you stick around for that. First up, I'm going to talk about what I'm going to call the traditional method of making it as a music producer, which is the pretty typical music industry path you think of when you think of becoming a producer. This is probably the path a lot of you guys saw and were inspired by when you made the choice to start making beats seriously, which is by coming up as a producer by getting big placements and making money that way. This is how a lot of our favorite producers came up and made a name for themselves in the beginning, from the guys in 808 Mafia like Southside and TM88 to Metro Boomin, Timbaland, Pierre Bourne, Boy Wonder, the list goes on. Making a living as a producer in this way sounds like the dream. All you do is pull up to crazy studios with A-list rappers and singers, make sick beats all day and all night long, and then cash out big checks when that record you produce goes #1. But it isn't as straightforward as that to make this dream a reality. First off, all those producers I listed earlier grinded for years, if not decades, to be in the position that they're in. Becoming a producer of their caliber and prestige doesn't happen overnight 99% of the time. It's also not the best way to make money fast at all with your beats. Yeah, the payouts can be significant if you do land the right placements, but record labels are notorious for paying producers late, if at all. And you also have to have the knowledge to make sure everything is set up properly for you to receive your royalties and publishing correctly. So what should you do if you want to come up this way and become the next big industry producer? Well, there's lots of ways you can set yourself up to be in this position, some of which I'll mention later in this video as well. But it all comes down to building the right relationships and getting into the right rooms. Sure, there's plenty of industry producers who get tons of big placements by sending loops out and collaborating with producers working directly with big name artists, but ultimately you want to become the artist that everybody wants to try and send loops to if you really want to take control of your career in this way. In my opinion, the easiest way to break into the industry is by coming up with a new and upcoming artist instead of trying to get established rappers to use your beats. Examples of this are like Young Keo, who came up when Lil Nas X blew up off of Old Town Road, Boy Wonder, who came up with Drake, who was a newer artist at the time, and Riot, who's currently on the come up with Ice Spice right now. It's easier to come up in this way because smaller artists are easier to build relationships with compared to already established rappers, meaning you can really lock in with them and create something new and unique versus trying to cater your sound to land bigger placements. Now let's talk about the overall pros and cons of coming up as an industry producer in this way. First off, the pros. You get to mainly focus on music and your craft as a producer. As an industry producer, you don't have to worry too much about having a presence on social media other than just maintaining your brand and stuff like that. You also don't have to focus on creating video content for YouTube algorithms to push your tight beats because you're in the studio with the artist making beats face to face. This is also the most respected way of making money as a producer because it's the most traditional and what everybody expects when you say that you want to make beats for a living. Now onto the cons. If you're an antisocial introvert, then you're likely not going to get very far in this industry like that. Unfortunately for this way of coming up as a producer, it's more about who you know versus what you know or how good your beats even are. Networking is everything when it comes to getting industry connections and placements, and starting from zero is very daunting and frustrating. You also need to be located in a major music city to create some buzz around your name. For rap and hip hop, that usually means you need to be located in the United States, in a big city like Los Angeles, New York, or Atlanta, someplace like that. It's really hard to find studios where big rappers come through regularly if you live out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. This method can also take very long to get going, and it's very cutthroat. Placements can take months to years to actually come out after the rapper puts their verse on your beat, and that song can always get pulled at the last minute right before the project drops. Luckily, since we live in the age of the internet and social media, this is far from the only way to make a living as a music producer in 2024. So let's go ahead and get into the second method, which is what I consider to be the new way of making it as a producer. And that is to become a music producer content creator. I'm calling this a newer method because we've only started to see producers really come up all on their own by making videos and posting them online on social media platforms like Instagram and YouTube in the last few years. These creators come in all sizes, from the bigger OGs like Andrew Huang or Kyle Beats, to the countless amounts of smaller creators who've entered the space within the last couple of years. This is also how a lot of our clients in the Heat agency have found success in one way or the other. From creators like Jay Cactus or Ed Talenti, who have big audiences on YouTube, all the way to producers like Kavi, who have seen both success online and in the traditional music industry. These creators have bypassed the old gatekeepers of the industry by carving their own niche in the space with their content. By developing their own audiences through their videos, they've created platforms and businesses that support their music and creativity without the funding of any major labels or outside groups. This puts them in a very flexible position where they can make money in a lot of different ways by selling their own products and monetizing the audiences they develop. They can sell their own sample packs and drum kits, they can sell educational material like courses and ebooks, they can sell coaching and consultation services, mixing and mastering services, even their own merch. All that's possible only because of the following they develop just by posting their videos on social media. So what does it take to start making content and developing your own audience? Well, you might think that you need a fancy camera and a bunch of equipment to start making good videos, but that's far from the truth, luckily. Any modern smartphone from the last few years is more than capable of taking great quality videos, and other than that, you need very little additional equipment that doesn't cost too much at all to start making good content. After that, it's all about regularly creating good videos and optimizing them for the platform of your choice so you can start to generate views and traffic. There's so many formats you can make. With some experimentation, you can find the right type of video that suits your personality the best. You can make tutorial videos, long form and unedited cook-up videos, short form tutorials and cook-ups. You can start vlogging your studio sessions. You can get into live streaming. You can even make educational content for other producers who want to take music production seriously, just like the video you're watching right now. Yes, I'm currently creating the content that I'm talking about right now. That's really super fucking meta. The options are endless when it comes to this, but it's not all sunshines and rainbows no matter how good I made it sound just now. So let's get into the pros and cons of content creation. Let's start with the pros. Once you develop your own audience, you can funnel those views and traffic onto your own platform, whether it's a website or just a simple email list, anywhere where you're in total control. This means that you can start to build a real sustainable business that you can monetize just by posting videos online. It's obviously not as easy as it sounds, but you have the most freedom and control if you take this path versus working in the traditional music industry. There's no labels or managers telling you what you have to do or taking a cut of your profit. It's all you. This also means that you can really express yourself in your creativity, and that uniqueness can possibly be rewarded greatly if you're able to connect with the right audience. In today's social media climate, people are so tired of all the overly edited videos and fake personalities. People want to watch real people and real creators. So it's a good opportunity now to take advantage of that if you can create content that is truly different and truly yourself. Another pro is that you're more likely to make more money faster compared to the traditional music industry. You're pretty much starting a business when you create your own website and sell your own products and promote them with your content, meaning the limit of how much you can make is almost infinite and completely up to your own work ethic. This is the opposite of getting paid through placements, where labels and other outside parties determine how much you get paid and when. Also, once you develop your own audience, your career path is pretty much entirely in your hands. Nowadays, literally everything comes easier if you have a big following on social media. You can transition easier to traditional music industry when you have a big following because it's easier to tap in and network with other artists and producers who may already be familiar with you because they've seen your videos before. And even if they aren't, they're gonna be a lot more likely to respond to you reaching out because of your bigger following count, which is really good social proof. You don't even have to chase placements if you don't want to. You can follow whatever passion you decide to and still have your loyal followers there to support you if they've connected with you long enough. Kyle Beats found big success when he dropped his own drip plugin and started marketing to his audience, and that wouldn't have been nearly as successful if he didn't already have a big following from his content. Other producers have successfully marketed their services like I mentioned earlier. It's all up to you and where your strengths and passions lie. Now, onto the negatives of content creation. It is a grind, especially from the beginning if you're starting from zero. If you're new to making videos and posting online, there's definitely a learning curve that you need to overcome, and that can take a lot of time and experimentation. This can be frustrating to a lot of producers, especially once you start having to learn about things completely unrelated to music at all, like how to work a camera and lighting equipment, or learn about social media algorithms and other marketing principles. This will take time away from you making music, which won't work for a lot of producers, especially the ones who are extremely passionate about production and have no interest in YouTube or social media at all. Also, the grind really never stops. Once you have a low audience, it's hard to take long breaks where you don't post videos and try and keep that same momentum going. This can lead to burnout in a lot of creators, making it unsustainable for a long run if you don't take care of your physical and mental health while grinding it out. If becoming an industry producer or content creator sounds interesting to you, and you want to learn from a community of like-minded individuals and industry experts and leaders, then make sure you check out this live event this Friday, March 15th, where we're publicly unveiling our new Leaders community. This is gonna be a private stream where we showcase everything featured in the community, and we're gonna have something special available only to those who sign up using the link below and participate in the live event. Now on to the next way producers can make money in 2024, and that's by collecting streaming and distribution revenue directly. We all know that you get paid through your placements with artists through an upfront advance fee, along with the back-end royalties and publishing. But if you wanna collect 100% of the pie, then you need to start releasing your own beats and songs as an artist yourself. You don't have to start rapping on your beats to be able to do so. Plenty of producers have been racking up tons of streams on their own Spotify pages in different ways. If you do want to be an artist, then you can start dropping your own music on your beats like Ramzoid and Aries did. If you want to work with artists on a more direct level, you can collaborate with them on songs and projects and include yourself as an artist alongside them like Kyle Beats does through his Kyle Beats Collective. You can also just drop straight instrumental music like Eldre does. And newer producers like RJ Payson and Skizzy have been racking up huge numbers just by their loops going viral on platforms like TikTok and then putting that song available up for streaming all by itself. There's lots of different ways to go about it, and you can mostly do it all by yourself without the help from labels or anyone else, aside from the artists you choose to work with. Now let's get into the pros and cons of this method. First up, the pros. If you create a beat or even just a simple loop all by yourself and it goes viral and gets a ton of streams, then you can potentially make a really good chunk of change. Spotify on average pays about $4,000 per million streams, and Apple Music pays about $6,000, which doesn't sound like a lot by itself, but once you start racking up multiple millions of streams, then that amount starts to grow by a lot. And if it's on a piece of music that you made all by yourself, then you're entitled to 100% of it instead of having to split it with an artist or label, and also without having to recoup any advance fees or anything like that. This can also lead to a pretty solid revenue stream if you're able to grow your very own fan base of listeners this way, and I'm sure that can feel very rewarding as a musician as well. You're also in complete creative control as an independent artist. Like, you can collaborate with whoever you want to work with, you can drop as much or as little as you want, you're fully in control of your sound and artwork, it's all up to you. You also don't have to wait months for a label to release a song you worked on. You can just choose to do so and market it however and whenever you'd like. Now on to the cons. You're probably gonna have to create some kind of video content to market it. Like, you can't just expect to just start uploading your beats on the DistroKid and just start magically having people discover and listen to them. You're basically becoming an artist yourself. So you have to do all the same things that independent and underground rappers and artists have to do for exposure, just through your own means as a producer. Some producers may thrive in an environment like this, others may not. It all depends on what you want out of making beats and what you feel comfortable doing to market them as standalone songs. You're also gonna wanna learn as much as you can about how money moves in the music industry, so you can make sure you're collecting all your publishing and royalties, but you should do this as a producer regardless, so I guess it's not a huge negative. Now onto the fourth method of making money as a music producer, and that's through sync licensing. Making music for sync means you're creating the instrumentals that you hear in television shows, commercials, movies, and even video games. This can be a very exciting and lucrative way to earn money as a producer, as studios making these forms of media that need music often have a bigger budget than most rappers and artists do. Most TV shows and movies pay out a lot more in the long run, meaning that you can be earning some really nice checks regularly if you're able to build up a decently sized catalog over the years. Personally, I haven't tried getting into the sync space yet, but I've been wanting to ever since Heat brought on Nathan, aka Excalibur Zero, as our head of sync over here. He's been involved in sync for years now and has built up quite the catalog of placements, and he also makes his own YouTube videos about sync, so be sure to check those out if you want to learn more about sync from someone who's actively involved in the space. Now let's get into the pros and cons of sync licensing. First up, the pros. Like I just said, The money can be really good compared to selling beats or getting placements, especially if you build up a nice catalog over the years. The space also seems to be filled with a lot more professionals compared to the regular music industry, which is filled mostly with rappers trying to scam you and overly emotional artists and label people. So if you come from a proper professional background, you might feel more at home communicating with these types of libraries and people. Sync is also a way you can make money with your beats without having to put yourself out there too much, meaning you don't have to have a big social media presence or always have to be making content to get sync placements. This makes it a good place to be if you're a more introverted music producer who doesn't like constantly meeting and networking with new people or putting out a ton of content online. Now onto the cons of sync. Making music for television and movies is nothing like making beats for artists to rap on. It's a whole new skill set you have to learn if you want your music to actually get accepted in place for sync. This learning curve isn't huge, but you are gonna have to learn some new fundamental things like what a sting is or different arrangements that work better for television than songs. You're also gonna have to leave room for dialogue in a completely different way compared to leaving room for a rapper's vocals on your beats. So it's gonna take some practice and experimentation to find what works best for you for sync. You might also have to make more creative compromises when it comes to creating instrumentals for sync. While it is important to have a good, unique sound as a producer in this space, there's a lot less room for experimentation where a certain cue has very specific instructions. Some producers might not like all the restrictions on their creativity in this way. Like I said, Nathan is a lot more knowledgeable about this stuff than I am, so go check out his channels and videos to learn more about getting to sync. And last but not least, we've got everybody's favorite way to make money with their beats, and that's by selling leases of them to rappers online. This is how I came up and was able to make music full-time as a producer back in 2020. That's how Robin, the guy who started Heat and Leaders, was able to do the same before me, and that's what most of the content you'll find on this channel is all about. I'm not gonna go too in depth here because I'm sure you guys have already seen all our other videos about selling beats online, but let me just tell you guys this one thing. Selling beats online and on YouTube is not dead, and I don't think it ever will be, honestly. There's always gonna be a market of rappers looking for beats online, meaning that there's always gonna be the opportunity to make money by selling your beats to them this way. The ways that you market and get exposure to them may change slightly over the years, but overall, it's gonna be the same grind in one way or another. If you wanna learn more about how to get started selling your beats online, I recently made an hour-long video showcasing everything I know about doing so here on the channel, so you can check that out after you're done here. Trust me, just go watch that video. I put so much effort into it so it can be the best possible resource for any producer trying to sell their beats online. Now let's get into the pros and cons of selling beats online. First up, the pros. Anyone, anywhere can get started posting their music online as type beats pretty easily and for pretty cheap, making it a great way to first start trying to sell and make money off of your beats. You don't have to create content to promote them, and you don't need to live in a major city or even in the United States to get started, making it a great way to get into music even if you're just an introverted ass music producer. The amount of rappers looking for beats online is crazy as well, and you never know who is gonna find your beats and use them just off of hearing it off of YouTube. I've gotten all my major placements in one way or another solely through my Type Beat channel on YouTube, and I don't even have 10K subs on there, meaning that you don't have to have a big channel at all to start getting placements. I was also able to pivot from selling beats online to working more in the traditional music industry through the connections I made from the internet, making it a good way to also get your foot into the door of the industry. Now onto the negatives. Because of the low barrier to entry, it is pretty competitive and it can be hard to stand out from all the noise if there's nothing special about your music to differentiate you from everybody else. Whether or not the game is oversaturated, it's gonna take you some time to break through the algorithm and start to develop your own audience to get sales. I was posting beats for years before my channel finally took off, and that was after several attempts of taking it seriously and posting beats every day. It's also not the hot new thing like it was in the last decade, but it's never gonna go away like I mentioned earlier. Selling beats online is usually a slow burning method to make money online. It takes some time to get going, but once you manage to do so, the results will be worth it. Like I said earlier, check out my hour-long video about selling beats online if you want to learn more. Also, don't forget to register your spot for the private stream where we're showcasing the new Leaders platform this Friday on March 15th. You'll be able to learn more about literally every method I talked about here in this video in our new community, so click the link below to save your spot so you don't miss out on all the bonuses.